Okay.
Okay, I'm standing with George Kolombatovich, who really to say what you are, what you happen, would be almost impossible on air. But we have the Columbia coach. You've been on, I don't know how many FIE panels you've been on. The Fencing Officials Commission. There are a million things. But what I wanted to ask you first is, I know you're the son of Oscar Kolombatovich, but your early days, how did they really start off in fencing?
Well, my father was smart about that one thing. He taught me only when I asked for lessons, and they were very short. He always stood in perfect posture, because the little kid's going to mimic. And after about a year and a half, doing this probably 4 or 5 times a week, again, only when I asked for it, he sent me to Giorgio Santelli. So when I went to Giorgio, and Giorgio Santelli was, this is the way to do it, period. There's no anything involved. I expected something like that. It wasn't, I never was upset. Even I started with Giorgio when I was 5. And I never was upset when he yelled or something like that, because that's what I saw all the fencing coaches do.
It was funny, Giorgio never yelled at me. He must have only yelled at you.
It was, I was the one and
Just
only.
you.
One and only.
How did Oscar, your dad, how did he get to know fencing to teach you?
Well, he actually started in the States. He came to the United States. He was born in Split, what is now Croatia. It was Yugoslavia at that time. And went to Italy, lived in Italy for about a year and a half, and then the family came over to the United States. And as a young person, I think he was like many of us, the Three Musketeers, the Errol Flynn, and all of that sort of stuff. Well, it wasn't Errol Flynn, Douglas Fairbanks Sr. probably, yeah. All of the excitement and so on of those kind of stories, and he started taking fencing lessons. And then
where did he take?
He worked. I don't remember the name of the teacher. It was someplace in Queens, actually. And then after a while, he worked with Giorgio, and then he was on the team at the New York Athletic Club, and he started teaching. Actually, with no real formal training as a teacher, but he was successful with it. And the end result is, well, I'm here, still going with it, and a lot of people had a good time.
Let me ask you about your international duties, since you've had so many. What would you say is the most fun you've had, the most pleasure, or the most learning you've had in any international duties you've ever had?
To be an FIE observer at a World Cup with team and get to present medals to the USA team and to hear the Star Spangled Banner, to be at the Olympic Games in Athens and be one of the assigners of referees for the games, and see America get its first gold medal in over 100 years. I still think probably the biggest thrill is hearing the national anthem at a World Championships, something that I never expected to ever hear, forever. And one other thing that was really, to me, a big pleasure was hearing something. For many, many years, fencers in the United States felt, because they were not European, they were automatically inferior. Assuming the French fencers came out of the womb knowing how to stand on guard already. And they would get on the strip with an Italian, and they go, oh my God, an Italian, and they would lose because it was a self-fulfilling prophecy. Actually I was in Italy at a World Cup in women's saber, and the national saber coach of Italy, men's and women, I heard him say to his assistant, another fencing master, it was in Italian, I understood, what is the matter with our fencers? They get on the strip and there's an American across from them, they don't think they can possibly win.
That's funny, isn't it?
And that was, I mean, that when you see the country that had really very, very limited success internationally, we go now to competitions, we go to the Junior Worlds, and people feel if they don't at least make top 16, something's wrong with them. The whole attitude is different. I remember one Junior Worlds, I was asked to speak at the team dinner. I was there as a FIE delegate. And I told them about 1981 Junior Worlds. That it was just women's foil back then. One fencer got out of the first round of the three that were there, and she ended up finishing 16th place. And we thought that was wonderful. In men's foil, one fencer made it to the second round, the other was first round. He was out in the second round. Men's épée, two fencers knocked out in the first round, one made the third round, and then he was out. In men's saber, they were all knocked out in the first round. And we thought that was a pretty successful Junior Worlds because we had somebody in the top 16. And seeing the change, and a lot of that obviously is because we have these competitions for young people, and when they're handled right by their parents and their coaches and else, you've got kids that really love the sport and are willing to put in the work and the time involved, because there's so much out there for them to do. I mean, it's not uncommon to see a first-year student or freshman at college who's the first semester there in college making 6 trips to World Cups all over the world.
Absolutely.
You know, and previously, it never happened. It just never happened.
Personally for you, is there anything that has ever happened at Columbia for you that was a big moment for you as the Columbia coach, one that stands out particularly?
Nothing really. It's really about the people involved.
Is there a person, a story about one guy or one woman that stands out to you of your coaching career?
That is so hard to do. I think one of the things that happens at Columbia that I'm really proud about is the approach to everyone. And what I mean by that is we have, this year, for example, we have 3 people who are on the senior national team. And as we know,
3 people, let's hear them. What's their names?
Jeff Spear, Kirk Getz, and Nicole Ross. Men's saber, men's foil, women's foil. They're going to be missing college meets. We're missing part of our IB championships because they're a member of the senior national team, and they have to go to Team World Cup events as part of the USA team. So they're members of the Columbia team, and they're members of the USA team. And I'm so proud of my university, my athletic department, the associate AD that I work with directly, the athletics director. They understand and they support people who are on, okay, I'm a team member of Columbia University, I'm a team member of the United States of America.
Right.
And they understand that by supporting the United States of America, this is the best thing for the student athlete, as opposed to Columbia winning this or winning that kind
Absolutely.
of thing. And with that kind of an attitude, that kind of support, we are extremely lucky.
That's wonderful. Thank you, George.
Pleasure, man.
And you know what I intend to do with this is to, again,